Hi everybody, I'm Erin Dobbs.
And I'm Chris Savage. Welcome to AMA Air. Coming up today, aviation historian Dr. Gary Fogel sits down with us to talk about the history of the Torrey Pines glider port.
A Texas RC club comes to the aid of a local family struck by tragedy.
And we'll show you how the AMA wants to help you discover flight.
Thanks again for joining us here on AMA Air.
We appreciate you joining us today and on the first of every month. Now, let's get started with our top headlines from October. The Department of Transportation has announced the formation of a task force to help develop a registration process for unmanned aircraft systems. 25 to 30 representatives from the UAS and manned aviation industries, federal government, and other stakeholders will advise the DOT on which aircraft should be exempt from registration due to a low safety risk. It will also explore options for a streamlined system that would make registration less burdensome for pilots. AMA Government and Regulatory Affairs Representative Rich Hansen offered comments on behalf of the AMA.
The Academy of Model Aeronautics and its more than 180,000 members across the country recognize the importance of this issue. We stand ready to lend our nearly 80 years of experience in managing the model aircraft community and operating recreational UAS in finding a reasonable and appropriate solution to this issue.
In a statement released by the AMA, Executive Director Dave Mathieson said, "The AMA looks forward to working with government and private stakeholders on a process for UAS registration. It should not become a prohibitive burden for recreational users who fly for fun and for educational purposes and who have operated harmoniously within our communities for decades." The task force plans to have recommendations to the DOT by November 20th with a registry rollout by mid-December.
Additionally, this week the AMA will launch the first video in a series. AMA members talk about flying drones safely. The videos are targeted for the general public and those who have purchased a drone and do not know there are rules for flying safely in the national airspace. AMA members featured in the videos include AMA Ambassador and astronaut Robert Hoot Gibson, Airline Captain Brad Lang, and helicopter pilot and comedian Jeff Dunham. More videos with AMA members are planned. For more information on these PSAs, visit air.modelaircraft.org. The National Aeronautic Association announced that renowned aerospace engineer and AMA member Burt Rutan will be this year's recipient of the Wright Brothers Memorial Trophy. The award, given for significant public service and value to aviation in the United States, has honored such notable aviators as Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, and Charles Lindbergh. According to the NAA, Rutan received the award for his work as a world-renowned aerospace engineer noted for his originality in designing light, strong, and energy-efficient aircraft, including the record-breaking Voyager and Spaceship One.
The AMA and the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada recently renewed their collaborative agreement, establishing an arrangement allowing modelers to participate in activities and events under the auspice of their home country's organization while visiting their North American neighbor. AMA President Bob Brown and MAC President Roger Williams signed the agreement last month while MAC officials were visiting AMA headquarters in Muncie, Indiana.
A lot of modelers know about the beauty of the famous Torrey Pines glider port in San Diego, but may not necessarily know the illustrious history of the site. Recently, AMA fellow and aviation historian Dr. Gary Fogel stopped by AMA headquarters and talked with our very own Chad Boudreau about one of the world's most famous flying sites.
Hi, my name is Chad Boudreau, and I'm here at the Academy of Model Aeronautics, and with me I have Dr. Gary Fogel.
Hi, Chad.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks for coming to the IAC and being part of our program.
Yeah.
We've talked to you before,
Yeah.
and you're just a wealth of information, and we appreciate you taking time to be here. You're a historian, you're a pilot, your daughter's a pilot, your father flew. Interesting part about your history is, it's a big part of your history, is Torrey Pines.
Yep.
That's where you
That's where I started.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my playground.
So tell me about Torrey
Yeah.
Pines.
It really was my playground. It's kind of like an outdoor wind tunnel to try new
Right.
things as a kid. And I tried so much stuff, new designs, new changes to things. That's one of the reasons why when I'm teaching a class, I get the students to do that, because that's what I experienced as growing up. I would just go out there and tinker with stuff and
Sure.
try it out and see if it would be any better and change the balance. And every flight was a different learning experiment.
Right.
Because it's easy to just throw it off the cliff with enough wind, and keep it aloft, no motor necessary, land whenever you want, change something, and try it again.
You
And that was fun.
described it once as a reverse waterfall, right?
A reverse waterfall. The wind hits the cliff there. It's about a 300-foot cliff. Usually in the afternoon in San Diego, there's a good 10-knot breeze almost every day, and it's 360 days of sun. And it goes up the cliff, and you can fly as long as the wind's going. It's great. Wow. That's just a great place. Yeah.
So that's the interesting thing here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
You're gas or battery powered,
Right.
and when
Right.
battery's done,
That's
you're
it. You're
done.
done. Right.
Here, you can fly for hours.
Pretty much. Right. Yeah. In fact,
that's
the first world record for over an 8-hour flight was set at Torrey Pines in 1956.
Wow.
Rudder bang bang control only.
Wow.
Which is wow, 8 hours doing that's a long time. But yeah, that's fun stuff. Yeah, fun stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
Torrey Pines has a rich history.
Right.
You wrote a book that tickled on that topic.
Yeah.
And of course, Charles Lindbergh.
He was the
Tell
first.
us a little bit
So
about
Charles Lindbergh was the first. He came to San Diego after his crossing the Atlantic, and in early 1930, he and his wife Ann came to San Diego, learned how to fly and soar in sailplanes. In one of those flights, he was launched off a nearby mountain in San Diego, recognized that the cliffs in Torrey Pines might have some lift, so he went over that direction, flew along the cliffs the entire length, and landed on the beach for a Western regional distance record. But that's the first use of the lift by a sailplane. Was
Nice.
Charles Lindbergh. That's kind of cool.
Right.
Fun.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history there.
And also for RC, I mean, we've got, again, back to the 1950s. And throughout the 1970s, one of the most popular places for the growth of the RC soaring sport was Torrey Pines.
Well,
Yeah.
and we at the AMA, we recognize that there's a lot of history there, and you were instrumental with your father and Rich
Right.
Hansen in making this an AMA
Right.
landmark,
Right.
the first one in the country.
Right.
2003. Tell us a little bit about what that process is and why the background.
Went back before that, so 1991,
Okay.
1989. Part of the glider port's divided into two property owners. One is the city of San Diego, and the other is the University of California.
Okay.
And the University of California owns the rear portion of the glider port. It's the site that's used by the manned aircraft to launch their manned sailplanes off with a winch. Both, it's kind of like left field and right field are owned by different people, and you still want to play baseball. Little challenging sometimes. In 1989, the long-range plan for the university portion said they were going to build a big building on that. And my dad and I said, it's just not going to happen. We can't
Right.
rest. We got to fight that.
Right.
So we went to the city, and the city said, well, it's not our land, so we can't do anything. We went to the National Soaring Museum in Elmira, New York, and said, you have a program of recognizing soaring landmarks. These are historic locations for soaring. Clearly Torrey Pines is a historic location. Let's get a plaque up there that says at least there's a community of people that thinks this is important to save.
Right.
And that'll start the process, and they agreed. So in 1991, we put a nice big plaque up that said this is recognized for all forms of soaring flight. Model gliders, hang gliders, paragliders, and manned sailplanes. They all share this resource, hopefully for future generations to enjoy. So then on top of that, we went to the national level and got it on the National Register of Historic Places at the federal level. So the whole site is nationally historic. Then beyond that, we felt it was really important to preserve model airplanes at that site and recognize that that has been a cultural icon for RC soaring for years, going again 60 years now. So in 2003, I wrote to Rich Hansen, who was district vice president at the time. I've known him for a long time. But I said, Rich, here's this program that the National Soaring Museum has. AMA should have a similar program to recognize landmarks that are involved with model aviation, not just soaring, but anything that's historic. Before we lose these sites, the executive committee agreed. We set up a new program for landmarks for AMA. Joyce came out to dedicate the first plaque at Torrey Pines. It's still there. And the RC enthusiasts are very pleased that that AMA did that. And that started the program. I know there's other sites that have been recognized. Yes. And I hope that there's more sites that continue to be added to that. I think the museum, the National Model Aviation Museum, has a program. And if you go on the website, you can find more information about how to sign up for that. But it could be places that are historic, like Torrey Pines, or it could be even a business or other location that might have been important in the past.
Right.
Yeah, and those places need to be marked as such.
Imagination can take us anywhere. That's the message being heard from the AMA and its more than 187,000 members, uniting to welcome and encourage the next generation of model aviation enthusiasts. A new public awareness campaign called Discover Flight has been launched to show the world why it's never been a more important or exciting time to take to the skies. The campaign can be seen in its entirety at discoverflight.org, and we've got this video package to introduce you to the campaign today.
Every journey starts somewhere. Our journey begins with an idea. With imagination. And imagination can take us anywhere. To new highs. And new lows. But where there are challenges, there will be discovery.
The world has seen an inventor's dream become an everyday actuality.
New possibilities. New ideas. And new frontiers. Because the best journeys end with new beginnings.
A family that lost everything in a house fire got a little help from the Texas Unlimited Fun Flyers of Tyler, Texas. Mark and Denise Humphreys were left with almost nothing following a fire that destroyed their home and belongings in late July.
After hearing about the incident, the members of the Tough Club immediately jumped in to help by holding a 2-day fly-in to help raise money and clothing donations for the Tyler couple. The club was able to raise over $3,000 to help the Humphreys.
A GoFundMe page was also set up to take donations from those who couldn't attend the event. You can find a link to that on our homepage at air.modelaircraft.org.
For those of you in the Southern California area, make sure to get your tickets for the 2016 AMA Expo in Ontario, California.
That's right. AMA will be taking over the Ontario Convention Center on January 8th through the 10th. And you can get your tickets by heading over to www.amaexpo.com. We've got a lot of great stuff lined up this year, and you can find all the details about the show on the website.
That's all we have for this episode of AMA Air.
We truly hope you've enjoyed your look at the news around the hobby. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you're not yet a member of the Academy of Model Aeronautics, head over to www.modelaircraft.org and sign up today.
And of course, join us again next month for another edition of AMA Air.